Every bite that you take is a vote for what kind of food system you want to see. Get to know your farmer. Go find a place locally that's doing things that make a difference, that you're passionate about. You want to see a better food system. You want to see a more resilient food system. You want to see a food system that puts carbon into the ground instead of leaking it back out or down the river. Go find that person and support them, because they need you. The biggest difference, I would say, between us and what's considered conventional agriculture today is we're not feeding them on a feedlot. We're not feeding them things that they weren't evolved to eat. We're not keeping chickens in the house. Everybody's out doing the things that they're evolved to do. Chickens are out scratching around. The turkeys right over here are out scratching around, catching bugs and doing what turkeys do. And the pigs are in the woods. They're designed to be in the woods. They got a great shovel nose for digging up acorns and stuff. And they love acorns. A popular term to describe that sort of thing is biomimicry. Rather than try and bend ground or nature to your will, you're looking at what's going on in life around you and trying to emulate that through your practices. For instance, look around in nature and see how often you see a monoculture of anything. It never happens.
Industrial commercial sort of model that we have right now for large-scale farming is really a very open, loose, leaky system in terms of how an ecologist would talk about it. We have a lot of inputs that are coming in. Those inputs have big greenhouse gas footprints, and we have a lot of things coming out. So they're not holding in those nutrients that you put in and other things like that. Agriculture is about 10% of the greenhouse gas emissions, the man-made greenhouse gas emissions from the United States.
Honestly, this year we had the most rainfall by a couple of inches in August. And we're drier than most. I know south of us, they got it a lot worse. If you got bare ground and we got a heavy storm and they're happening more often and more intensely, you're gonna lose topsoil. In the spring, you go to any river in the United States that I've seen at that time of year, at planting time or at tillage time, if there's a heavy rain, every river, every ditch, everything is running like chocolate milk. Well, that's all of what we have to grow food with. We really got to look at how we're creating food impacting our ability to create food in the future. Straight up NPK, it'll grow a crop, but it doesn't feed the microbiota in the soil to make the next crop. So it's a treadmill. Once you get on that NPK treadmill, you have to continue adding, and it's soil on life support is how I often describe it. So there's always diversity in nature. We strive to increase the diversity of our pastures through a variety of means, from frost seeding different times to just the way that we graze them and the species that we graze on them makes a big difference in how those things respond and how much carbon we can accumulate in that soil and how much water we can capture as a result. For every 1% of soil organic matter, that you increase in an acre of ground, you can hold an additional 20,000 or 25,000 gallons of water. It used to be that there were two very distinct wet spots in this pasture right here. When we first started, in fact, I buried the big tractor right there one time, like to the point where I had to unhook, and it was rough. Nowadays, since we've been building up the soil in this pasture over the last 12, 15 years, 14 years now, it holds water a lot better than it ever did. So even the gully washers don't bother us so badly here.
You know, building more soil organic matter in your soil helps both in the wet and the dry times because it helps create infiltration pathways in the soil when there's too much water. But also that carbon in the soil helps hold on to water so that in the dry times your crops have access to a little more soil moisture than a crop in a field with less soil organic matter. A lot of these practices are both building resilience, you know, to hold on to the soil during these extreme weather events, but they're also helping mitigate climate change. All the chemicals that go into the soil really have a big impact on the microbial diversity of the soil. And those microbes have important relationships with the plants in terms of delivering nutrients or, you know, other services related to what's going on in the soil. And having the diversity in any system is so that when those conditions change, the abiotic conditions, things get drier, things get hotter, things get colder, you have that diversity. So one of your players on the team is able to rise up, you know, and help you out. So kind of similar to our own microbiome in our gut supporting our health, you can think of the soil as like another layer of that microbiome producing the food that has, you know, elements that you need, you know, not just the carbon, not just the sugar, you know, but the other minerals that are important for your health. So if we look at large-scale, you know, industrial agriculture, big corn, soybean systems, incorporating diversity into their rotation is a really big win for climate. Also looking at where we're doing agriculture, what that food is being used for. In a lot of places, it's used for livestock. So if there's less demand for livestock because people are eating less meat as part of supporting change in climate change, we won't need that corn and soybeans. With regenerative farming, you're sort of returning to how nature works on its own, if you will. So you're having a more closed system where the inputs are coming from within the system. You're nurturing the soil as one of those main sort of sources of nutrients and holding water for you as a farmer. Raising the animals that we do grow for meat, because I don't think it's realistic to tell people to stop, you know, eating meat, is this work that people like Michael Kovach are doing in growing livestock out in the field, eating grass. So livestock's not separated from where we're growing the plants, because if we put those two things together, we have a source of nutrients from the manure from animals that can go to serve the plants.
That's how the consumer can kind of jump into the fray, besides talking to the legislators about looking at legislation through the lens of how will this help to increase the soil, which is a universal resource. It needs to be looked at as all of our resource, even though it's on my property here. I look at this as being everybody's carbon sink. The opportunity for climate smart agriculture in that context is unparalleled. There's no other sector that we can promote to really have as big an impact and putting a lot of carbon into the ground. Taking it out of the atmosphere where it's causing trouble and putting it into the ground where it's holding water and feeding plants.
Where you love to see it.
Exactly. I like it down there. I don't like it up there so much.
Huge fan.
Right.